Toto Wolff speaks on Hamilton's Canadian GP blow. During the closing stages of the race, Sainz challenged Verstappen when a late safety car gave him the chance, but he wasn't able to out-duel the Red Bull driver. He was ultimately forced to settle for a second place finish behind Lewis Hamilton, who drove an almost flawless race to seal an outstanding podium finish after a dismal start to the season. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this video, we will be talking about Hamilton's GP blow and what Toto Wolff had to say about it. Hamilton and his performance. Lewis Hamilton has established himself as one of the top F1 drivers over the past 8 years by winning 6 World Championships and assisting Mercedes in capturing championships since 2014. Except for 2016 and 2021, he has been outperforming his teammates as well, and he has defeated Valtteri Bottas and Nico Rosberg in all of the World Championship races. When George Russell joined Mercedes' squad this season, it was questioned whether Russell would be able to keep up with the other Briton. However, things took an unexpected turn when Russell managed to finish ahead of Hamilton in all but one race. Lewis Hamilton has only been able to win 1 podium in Bahrain, whereas Russell has won 3 in the same car since Mercedes' dominance in the sport began to wane following the start of the season. All of this occurs after the last race of the 2021 season when Max Verstappen defeated Hamilton for the championship in Abu Dhabi during a highly contentious race. Toto Wolff disagrees with the notion that the race had an effect on the British driver and may be the cause of his poor performance this season. Wolff's remarks. Toto Wolff, the team owner, disputes that Lewis Hamilton's performance has decreased since the race in Abu Dhabi last year, even though he has been failing way too much in comparison to Russell in the same vehicle. He added that he finds both drivers to be extremely professional and that it is impossible to establish a trend while claiming that George is outperforming Hamilton. Russell and Hamilton. Following an experimental setup for the team at Baku, Hamilton finished P4 just behind Russell. Although the porpoising of the car had some negative effects on the Briton's back, these effects were so bad it was feared that he might miss the Canadian Grand Prix. Russell is 2 spots ahead of Hamilton in 4th place with 99 points, whereas Hamilton is currently 6th in the standings with 62 points. Lewis Hamilton believes that Mercedes can once again be competitive this year thanks to his 3rd place finish at the Canadian Grand Prix. The 7-time champion's performance in Montreal put an end to a string of challenging races in which he had not finished on the podium. If they can get the setup just right, Hamilton claimed that it has given him a lot of faith that there is still more to come from this car. Mercedes and the stubborn cars. George Russell, Hamilton's teammate, had outqualified him for 3 straight races before the race in Montreal, and Hamilton hadn't finished ahead of him since Bahrain, the season's opening race. That has been helped in part by Russell's own extremely strong performance this year. There is no greater tribute to Russell than that, considering it is still unclear who will ultimately prove to be faster. However, there have also been unlucky events and uncomfortable situations for which Hamilton is not to blame. In addition, Mercedes has been trying a variety of setup options to control their stubborn car, with the team's more experienced driver taking on what has typically been the less successful option. Hamilton said he was so delighted to finally have a nice weekend and quipped, half-jokingly, maybe George can do the experiment in the second half of the season. More gravely, he stated that he believed it was time for the team to back down a bit as they tried to go closer to Red Bull and Ferrari in terms of performance. Hamilton's remarks. Hamilton claimed that their only goal is to advance together. In the future, they will exercise a bit more caution when conducting too many tests because doing so seriously interferes with your ability to enjoy the weekend, particularly if you only have 2 dry practices. Although we can still improve moving forward and there are many lessons to be learnt from this weekend. The pace today is fantastic, it is lovely to observe, with this car it hasn't always been the case. The Red Bull driver held off a late attack from Ferrari's Carlos Sainz, and there were occasions during the race when Hamilton was matching the leader's lap times. As a result, Hamilton ended only 7 seconds behind race winner Max Verstappen. But it's crucial to keep this in perspective. With 20 laps remaining, a safety car stopped the race, and after 16 laps it was resumed. Despite going into those laps believing he could just about keep up with them, Hamilton lost the lead. As a result, performance-wise, Canada did not represent a huge advancement for Mercedes. The car stayed put, around 0.8 seconds per lap slower than the Red Bull and Ferrari. As the stints progressed, they simply demonstrated superior tyre wear than they did, thus it accelerated its movement toward them. Remarks from Wolff. Toto Wolff, the team's manager, said that summer isn't made up of one swallow. Although it flew elsewhere, we also spotted the swallow in Barcelona. They were behind the leaders, but in qualifying they performed admirably in slick conditions. He added that they travelled with the fastest cars during the second stint. Lewis and George were on several wraps nearly as fast as the leaders. He continued by saying that they should exercise caution because there is still so much work to be done before they can return to the front. He said that they had achieved 4 to 5 podium finishes and that we were catching glimpses of some performance, but it was far from what he had set for ourselves. A podium finish must be viewed as a commendable accomplishment, and he is delighted for Lewis because the safety car hurt him in some of the races. There is still a ton of work to be done. Mercedes believes that the aerodynamic porpoising issue that plagued them in the season's opening race has been resolved, but they continue to experience bouncing due to an extremely stiff suspension setup. The car was raised and the suspension was run softer in Canada, but while the ride quality of the car was improved, its performance was not. Mercedes is stuck in a vicious cycle and has no idea how to escape it. The British Grand Prix, the following event, will have lengthy fast corners and a smooth circuit, so they anticipate being more competitive there. However, they do not possess a key that can accelerate the vehicle as quickly as a Red Bull or Ferrari. Hamilton's dreams of a better performance won't materialise until they discover one though. Wolff advised them to control their expectations, work diligently, analyse the data and come up with some reasonable answers. He continued by saying that they simply needed to add additional weight and downforce to the vehicle while keeping it higher off the ground than we had anticipated. Definite guidance is given. The other cars are moving higher, as you can see, so this is where we need to discover our performance. The Canadian remarks provided the clearest explanation yet of why George Russell joined Mercedes and appeared to be able to read his 7-time champion teammate Lewis Hamilton at all times. Winning the podium. When Hamilton won the podium, he was ecstatic. It was telling that during the race he was considerably chattier and more upbeat over team radio than he had been in Spain and Azerbaijan. After making contact with Kevin Magnussen, the driver didn't want to leave the race early. Instead, he was focused on competing for the fastest lap while closely monitoring Charles Leclerc's advancement. Verstappen is currently leading the standings by 98 points, but Hamilton said he was overwhelmed to finish third. This performance gave the British driver optimism that he might yet win again this year. However, following his comeback to 5th place in the Spanish Grand Prix last month, both Mercedes and Hamilton were equally upbeat. However, the following races in Monaco and Azerbaijan brought them back to reality. That's all for this video guys, and we're back soon with another informative video. Stay tuned.